Have you ever walked into a room full of people and felt completely invisible? You used to love being around others, so why do you now find peace in silence and dread small talk? This isn't just aging, it's a shift in the soul. And today, we're diving into the 6 real psychological reasons why you're pulling away, and why that might be the most powerful thing you've ever done. Reason number 1. The weight of old wounds. There comes a point in life where silence feels safer than conversation, not because you dislike people, but because you've learned the cost of opening your heart too quickly. For many in their 70s and beyond, this shift isn't about bitterness. It's about clarity. After decades of giving, loving, and showing up for others, the scars of betrayal, even the quiet, subtle ones, begin to echo louder than they once did. Take Margaret, now 78. She used to host Sunday dinners, laughing freely, pouring love into every meal she made. But as the years went by, the guest list shrank. One friend stopped calling after her husband passed. Another shared her secrets with someone who shouldn't have listened. No one meant to hurt her. Not in any grand dramatic way, but the tiny fractures added up. And now she'd rather spend an evening alone with a good book than risk sitting across from someone who doesn't see her anymore. This is the elderly wisdom we don't talk about enough. Knowing when to protect your peace instead of pretending. You're okay. It's not a failure of character to become cautious. In fact, it's part of healthy aging. When you've lived long enough to see how unpredictable people can be, how quickly loyalty can shift, you start to choose more carefully who enters your circle. You begin valuing emotional safety as much as physical senior safety. This doesn't mean you've lost your warmth or your will to connect. It just means you're discerning. And that's powerful. In life after 70, many realize that their time, their energy, and especially their trust are sacred. They've seen too much, felt too much, given too much, to keep making space for people who don't show up with the same care in return. Psychologists call it relational fatigue, the emotional weariness that comes from years of giving without receiving. And for many older adults, it's as real as any physical condition impacting senior health. But here's the truth. Choosing solitude isn't giving up. It's growing up. It's reclaiming your time, your heart, your peace, and realizing not everyone deserves access to it. So if you found yourself stepping back, choosing fewer friends, fewer phone calls, fewer obligations, know this. It's not loneliness. It's elderly wisdom in its purest form, and that wisdom, it's what makes this chapter of life so rich, so intentional, and so beautifully your own. Reason 2, the quiet over small talk. There comes a time in life when silence is no longer awkward. It's sacred. As we move deeper into life after 70, something subtle begins to shift. The noise of the world no longer feels inviting. It begins to feel overwhelming. The small talk, the gossip, the conversations that dance around truth instead of embracing it, they simply lose their appeal. You see, elderly wisdom is knowing that words are powerful, but they're also tiring when they carry no meaning. When you've lived through decades of real struggle, real love, and real growth, you no longer have the patience to sit through shallow conversations. Think of Robert, 75, once the life of every room he walked into. His voice used to echo with stories, jokes, and endless warmth. But these days he prefers the sound of wind brushing through the trees on his porch, or the soft hum of jazz in the background as he sips tea in the morning. When asked why he rarely joins large family gatherings anymore, he says, "I'm not lonely. I'm just done talking to fill the silence. This isn't isolation, it's intention. It's knowing that your peace has value, and it shouldn't be sacrificed for noise." In the journey of healthy aging, conserving your emotional energy becomes as important as protecting your senior health. Conversations used to be a way to connect. Now they often feel like a performance, like you're expected to entertain, smile, nod, keep up with topics that no longer feel relevant to the world you live in. But here's the thing. Silence is no longer something to be feared. It's something to treasure. Because within that silence, there's space for clarity. There's space for reflection. There's space for you. Senior safety isn't just about physical protection. It's also about guarding your emotional well-being. And sometimes that means stepping away from crowds that don't feed your spirit. And so the choice becomes simple. Force yourself into conversations that leave you empty, or sit in stillness that leaves you whole. Elderly wisdom teaches us that fewer words often lead to deeper truths, that not every moment has to be filled, that sometimes the best company you can have is yourself. So if you find yourself turning down invitations, skipping loud events, or choosing a quiet evening at home over another crowded room, know this: you are not pulling away from life. You are stepping deeper into what matters most, and that is a beautiful kind of freedom. Reason number 3, when the world stops hearing you. There's a quiet kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being alone. It comes from not being heard. Many people in life after 70 find themselves surrounded by family, by noise, by conversation, yet feel invisible in the middle of it all. You say something but no one responds. You share a memory and they glance at their phone. You offer wisdom and it's brushed off like a passing breeze. This isn't rejection. It's something more subtle, and in many ways more painful. It's the feeling of no longer fitting in with the world around you. Elderly wisdom teaches us that time doesn't just age the body, it shifts the soul. The values you once held dear, the way you see the world, even the way you speak, it can all start to feel out of sync with younger generations. The pace is faster now, the priorities are different, and slowly, without meaning to, you begin to feel misunderstood. Take Lorraine, 79, a retired nurse and mother of 4. She's lived through war, loss, love, and miracles. But at holiday dinners, when she tries to tell stories, the room keeps moving. No one is unkind, but no one truly listens either. She once said, "I have so much to say, but no one's really asking anymore." This emotional disconnection has real weight. It affects senior health, self-worth, and the ability to feel bonded with others. And so, little by little, you stop offering pieces of yourself. You speak less. You share less. You feel safer in your own quiet company than in rooms that don't. Make space for your voice. But here's something important. Your voice still matters. Your stories are still powerful. Your presence still holds meaning, even if the world has grown too loud to hear it. Part of healthy aging is learning to stop forcing your way into conversations that don't nourish you. Instead, you begin to seek senior connection that is intentional, where people see you, not just look at you, where silence is respected and stories are welcomed like treasured gifts. If you've started withdrawing, not because you're tired of people, but because you're tired of feeling invisible, it doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're growing wise enough to protect your spirit. And that truly is what elderly wisdom looks like. Choosing to be where you feel known, not just present. Reason number 4, the fear of becoming a burden. As we grow older, there's a quiet fear that begins to settle in, one we rarely speak about, but often feel deeply. It's not the fear of aging, or even of dying. It's the fear of becoming a burden. For many in life after 70, this fear doesn't come from weakness. It comes from love. You've spent your whole life being the strong one, the caretaker, the provider, the one others leaned on. And now, as your body slows or your independence shifts, asking for help feels foreign, almost shameful. Take Mr. Raymond, 83, once a proud mechanic who raised 3 sons with calloused hands and a soft heart. Today he walks a bit slower. He forgets where he placed his keys. He turns down family invitations not because he doesn't want to go, but because he doesn't want to inconvenience anyone. "I don't want them to feel like they have to take care of me," he said once. "They've got their own lives." That fear is powerful, and it makes many older adults quietly retreat, not out of bitterness, but out of respect. But here's the thing. That same fear can also isolate. It can rob you of moments of connection, of comfort, of joy. It can make you say no to help you genuinely need, or push away people who actually want to be there. This is where elderly wisdom comes in. True wisdom isn't just about knowing when to stay strong. It's knowing when to allow others to support you. Because healthy aging isn't just about keeping your body active. It's about keeping your heart open. And senior safety doesn't mean avoiding every risk. It means trusting the people who care about you to walk beside you, even when you're vulnerable. You see, Love isn't measured by how little you need others. It's measured by how much you allow yourself to be seen, fully, honestly, even when you're no longer the one holding everything together. So if you've been pulling back, keeping quiet, turning down help, stop and ask yourself, is it because you truly don't need anyone, or because you're afraid to need someone? Let this be a gentle reminder. Your worth isn't tied to your independence. Your presence is not a problem to solve. To those who love you, you are not a burden. You are a blessing. And sometimes elderly wisdom means understanding that allowing someone to care for you is actually one of the most courageous, generous things you can do. Reason number 5, when old friendships quietly fade. Some relationships don't end with slamming doors or harsh words. They simply fade. One day you're talking every week. The next it's once a year. Then silence. For many in life after 70, this slow fading of old friendships isn't dramatic. It's quiet, subtle, and yet deeply felt. You look back and realize people who once filled your days now only live in your memories. But this, too, is part of healthy aging. Take Janice, 74. For over a decade, she met her best friend from church every Friday for lunch. But then came the move, then the health scare, then life. The calls became texts, the texts became rare. Until one day, Janice sat at her favorite cafe, alone, and realized it had been years. There was no fight, no falling out, just time. Doing what time always does, stretching people in different directions. And as painful as that realization can be, elderly wisdom reminds us, not all goodbyes are spoken out loud. Some are simply felt in the space where connection used to live. As we age, our interests evolve, our priorities shift, and our energy becomes more limited. Maintaining every old connection isn't just difficult. Sometimes it's no longer right. We begin seeking senior connection that aligns with who we are now, not who we used to be, and that's okay. Letting go of old friendships doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you're honoring the truth that some relationships belong to a season that has passed, and forcing them to continue out of guilt or routine can drain your emotional well-being more than it feeds it. This is where elderly wisdom offers peace. It teaches us that space is not the same as resentment. That distance is not the same as failure. Sometimes creating room in your life means making space for something new, something better aligned with who you're becoming. So if you find yourself walking away from friendships that once meant the world, don't carry shame. Carry grace. Grace for what was. Grace for what's changed. And grace for the quieter, more intentional connections you now seek, because true connection, the kind that nourishes your soul, is never about quantity. It's about quality. And sometimes the most meaningful senior connections we form come after the ones we thought would last forever. Reason number 6, the joy of chosen solitude. There's a difference between being alone and being at peace. And one of the greatest gifts in life after 70 is discovering that you don't need a crowd to feel complete. You just need yourself. In a world that once praised busyness and social calendars, elderly wisdom teaches something different. Sometimes the most nourishing moments are the ones spent in quiet, with no need to explain, perform, or pretend. Solitude, when chosen, becomes sacred. Think of Leonard, 81. Decades ago, his home was the center of activity, neighbors dropping by, grandkids running through the halls, dinners that stretched late into the night. But today, he finds more. Joy watching birds from his back porch than hosting any party. When someone asked if he ever gets lonely, he smiled and said, "Not really. I've got memories that keep me company. And finally, I can hear myself think." That's the power of emotional independence. In this season of healthy aging, many seniors are no longer chasing connection for validation. You've done your part. You've shown up for people, built families, held space for others your whole life. Now it's time to hold space for you. Solitude doesn't mean sadness. It means sovereignty, the freedom to move at your own rhythm, eat when you're hungry, rest when you're tired, speak only when you truly want to. You no longer fill the silence because you're uncomfortable. Now silence is your sanctuary, In fact, senior well-being often improves when there's less noise, less obligation, fewer interruptions, more time to reflect, to journal, to simply be. And while others may worry, wondering if you're okay, if you're withdrawing, they may not realize that this calm you've embraced isn't loneliness, it's alignment. You've learned to enjoy your own company. You've made peace with your story. And perhaps for the first time in your life, you feel whole. Elderly wisdom isn't loud. It doesn't seek attention. It whispers gently, "You've earned this peace. You don't need to prove anything anymore." So if you're someone who now prefers evenings on your own, who finds joy in stillness, who no longer feels the need to say yes to everything and trust that instinct, that's not isolation, that's wisdom, that's healing, that's freedom. Quiet choices, wise living. How to embrace aging with peace and purpose. As we age, it's natural for our needs, values, and energy to shift. The social circles we once clung to may begin to feel distant. Conversations that once excited us may now feel draining. And that's not a sign of decline. It's a sign of elderly wisdom taking root. In life after 70, one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is permission. Permission to choose peace over pressure, stillness over small talk, and depth over duty. If you find yourself stepping back from old friendships, skipping social gatherings, or craving time alone, don't label it as loneliness. Instead, ask yourself, is this solitude, or is it alignment? True senior well-being isn't about staying busy or constantly engaged. It's about knowing your boundaries, listening to your body and heart, and choosing relationships that nourish you, not drain you. Here are a few gentle reminders to carry into each day. Protect your peace like you protect your health. Healthy. Aging isn't just about exercise or diet. It's about emotional rest and clarity too. Surround yourself with people who truly see you. Even one senior connection rooted in sincerity can be more meaningful than a room full of surface-level interactions. Release. The guilt of saying no. Whether it's a phone call, a party, or a visit, if it costs your energy and gives nothing back, you're allowed to pass. Don't fear being alone. Solitude can be one of the richest experiences of your later years, a space to reflect, create and rediscover joy on your own terms. Let go of relationships that no longer serve your soul. They were meaningful once, but you've grown. And growth requires space. Most importantly, remember this. Elderly wisdom means living with intention, not out of obligation, but out of choice. And in that choice, quiet, clear, and powerful, you reclaim the beauty of your time, your truth, and your final chapters.